Good morning. It is time for this week's 10 at 11 session, which is a 10-minute live all about a topic related to addiction and the family. So my name is Victoria Seed, and I help families affected by a loved one's drug or alcohol use to reduce stress so that they can live a better life. So the work I do is mainly with women, and I teach my clients really effective strategies to cope. And I do this by working online through one-to-one programs. And I also have a pretty new membership option, which is where you pay a small fee of £49 a month and you get loads of value, including a support and action session where everybody has the opportunity to talk about what's going well and what isn't, and taking actions forward, which I help with. We have a guest expert. So tonight I have a phenomenal expert coming in and talking about assertiveness, which is a topic we've been focusing on over in the membership this month. And then also we have a Q&A session and a topic of the month as well. So the topic this month is assertiveness, and that means you'll get a pre-recorded video, teach, and a workbook to work through. And then we have a Q&A a couple of weeks later just to go through that topic and make sure you've kind of made it fit for you and that you go away with some action. So it's really, really good. And I'm going to be opening that up again in the next week. So look out for it. If you want to get a free download of my top 10 tips for family recovery, please head over to vestaapproach.co.uk freebie, because that is where you can get my top tips straight into your inbox, and you'll also receive a weekly email from me as well. Okay, so let's get going. If you are watching live, let me know. Most people catch up on this, so if you don't feel comfortable posting in the comments, that's absolutely fine. Just drop me a message or an email if you need any help and support, and I will be happy to help. Okay, so in today's live, we are talking about assertiveness, how to ask for what you need. So I'm just going to talk you through a few points today that we've been talking about over in the membership, the Family Recovery Club. And the first thing I want you to think about when it comes to assertiveness is think about somebody that you respect for their boundaries, for their ability to say no, for their ability to live their life the way that they want to live their life, without being rude or abrupt or aggressive. So if you get that person in your head and name that person and visualize that person, when you get stuck in certain situations where you need to push yourself to assert your boundaries or to ask for something that you need, or to challenge somebody that's been rude to you, whatever it is, then think about what that person might do, because that can be really, really helpful. Okay. So do that first. I've got a few people that are really assertive and are great at saying no and great at getting what they want. So I think of those people. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is what assertiveness is really, because basically that means that you are confident and direct in claiming your rights. Okay. And part of that is to state your needs and feelings in an honest way. Okay, so, and also by being clear and direct in what you are saying and standing up for your rights without violating the rights of others. So part of being assertive means that you need to take other people's views and opinions, or even just consider where they're at. You need to build that into the equation, because it's not just about you. If you make it about you, then that moves into aggression. Okay, so what I want you to think about there, the difference between aggression, passive aggression, being passive and assertive, is that if you're passive, you just you're letting things go. You are not standing up for your rights. You're not asking for what you need. And if you sit in that passive mode, then you are never going to get your needs met, and you're going to get walked all over, particularly if you are living with somebody with a drug or alcohol use problem. So we don't want you to be there. Sometimes you might go into that mode. We call it kind of withdrawal mode, because you need to give yourself a break, and that's okay. But we don't want you there all the time, because you're not going to get anywhere. And then we've got passive aggressive, which is where you kind of a little bit of passive, where you're letting people walk all over you. You're not saying directly, clearly, and confidently what you need. And you are possibly doing things like giving backhanded compliments, or like huffing and puffing, or ignore it, that kind of thing, where you're obviously trying to get some kind of rise out of your loved one, or whoever it is. It might be a colleague or whoever, but then you cannot actually, you're not actually saying it directly, so that becomes aggressive. So we don't want you to be there, because that's not a good place to be either. And then you've got aggressive, which, I've experienced this a few times, and I've done it quite a few times. I was brought up in quite a emotionally aggressive home, and I'm not blaming anyone for that. That's just how people had learned to communicate. So it took me quite a long time to undo that as well, and to learn this stuff myself. So I've been on this journey myself to learn those assertiveness skills. And I don't get it right all the time, and that's okay. You forgive yourself, you move on, right? If you're living, my clients often say, oh gosh, I went crazy last night. I couldn't help it. I flew off the handle. I kicked something. I, shouted. I was upset. And it's like, that is fine. That's quite normal. The place we want you to be is where you're being assertive most of the time, right? So just forgive yourself. You're not perfect. Just get it done. You're not going to do it perfectly. Don't avoid it because of that, right? And this is coming from a recovering perfectionist as well. So your rights, and you have rights to have and express different opinions and ideas to other people, and have those respected as well. You've got to consider your own needs. That is your right. You have the right to ask for help or further information from people if you don't understand something. You have the right to say no. And remember that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself. You have a right to be confused or not understand. You have a right to be successful, make a mistake, change your mind. You also have a right not to assert yourself. You don't have to do this stuff, but you've got to think of what's going to happen in the future if you don't. And if you are living with somebody else's drug or alcohol use, and you don't set boundaries, and you don't stick to them, and you don't let your loved one know those boundaries and keep repeating them, then you're not going to get any change, okay? And you've got a right to be your own self. Everybody is different and unique. So a way of being assertive is to use positive communication. And I talk a lot about this in these videos. And the strategy that I teach, because it is so simple, is I statements or I messages. So all you need to structure a sentence, you need to structure a conversation is just by focusing on your feelings and not the other person's behavior. So imagine that your loved one has been intoxicated all weekend, really, really let you down, and you felt angry and upset, right? So that's what you say. Oh, I felt really angry and a little bit upset that we had plans at the weekend, and you were really intoxicated because, and in future, I would like it if. So all you're saying is, I feel when, in future, or could we please, or whatever you want to say. You need to ask for what you want. Okay, so ask for what you want as part of it. That's something that people miss out, because there's a fear of asking for it. So they'll do all the other stuff and say how they feel, but then they won't ask for what they want. And when you do start using I statements, you practice it. You can write it out in your phone what you want to say, just so you got it clear in your head. Don't expect that the other person is gonna, give you the outcome that may be in your head. So think about all the scenarios, and don't think you have to sit down and plan a really in-depth conversation. You can just say this in passing and say, okay, I'm off now. I'm going to make a cup of tea. Do you want one? And leave them with it. because you're going to have to repeat it. It won't go in once, and leave them with it and walk off, or sit down and wait for a response, whatever feels right for you at the time. But don't build it up to be this massive thing, because it's not. You just got to get used to saying how you feel and what you want without conflict, and this strategy works. And we always speak to your loved one with kindness, love and compassion, because if you're making a decision to continue having that relationship with your loved one, and that regular contact, whether it's a son, daughter, auntie, uncle, parent, partner, whatever, then you're going to have to find a way to make it work. And sometimes you've got to act as the adult, even if the other person isn't. And some strategies that you can use are the broken record technique. So that's where you're repeating your feelings. So if you don't feel like you're heard, repeat it 2 or 3 times and just say, yeah, but I'm telling you that I felt really upset. Nobody can argue with your feelings. They belong to you. So if that starts, then just end the conversation and say, okay, I can see that this isn't a good time. I'll come back to you later or tomorrow or whatever. Okay, so use that broken record technique. Say no if you need to. Take some breaths. Do not have these conversations where you are stressed, where you are anxious, you are worried, and you're flying off the handle. Calm yourself down and do it as soon as possible. But I always recommend as soon as your loved one is sober. Yeah, don't leave it for days, because the moment goes. I mean, you can still go back to it, but obviously it's more effective the sooner you do it. You can say nothing, but you're not going to get any change, and you're not going to get your needs met. But always show empathy as well. So the benefits of doing this is that your relationship is going to improve. I'm working with a lady at the moment whose son is a drinker, and she'd messaged him something after an incident. And I asked her to use this strategy just to put in the message, to structure a message, and she did. And after not hearing from him for a few days, she got a response straight away. So it just shows you the power of this work, and the power of, just being empathetic, kind, caring and compassionate, even if it feels draining to do that, because you've tried that, I know, but just give it a go. And the alternative is you stick in the other modes, like be passive, don't get your needs met, aggressive and contribute to the conflict in the household, passive aggressive, you stay unhappy, and then nothing changes and no one moves on. So you got to be strategic. You got to be strategic. So just try this out. Ask for what you want. Say how you feel. That is it. So don't forget, you can download 10 Ways to Family Recovery at vestaapproach.co.uk/freebie. And I'll let you know the details of the membership this week. But if you want to come in for £49 a month, that is it. So it's less than the price of a counselling session. You're getting a community of women who are in the same situation as you. Then just drop me a message and I will send you over the details ASAP. Okay, have a great day, and I will see you next week.